here tonight, but we'll tell you more in just a little bit.
To WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
He's the groove, he's the man, he's the Pope in the Vatican. He's the groove, he's the man, he's the Pope in the Vatican.
Once again, welcome to the Mix Live. This is Jason Rios alongside my brother.
I'm Lefty Hernandez.
And we have a special guest tonight. Introduce yourself, my brother.
Oh, it's Curtis Urbina.
There we go. Curtis Urbino here with us.
Here.
Live.
Yeah. Curtis Urbina. Oh my God. Curtis Urbina is here. For those who know or don't know, he's an amazing person. I know this gentleman for quite some time, and I've been blessed. Yeah, the man is definitely a walking music encyclopedia full of knowledge and skills. Curtis Urbina, welcome to the Mix Lab.
Welcome. Dude, thank you so much, man. Out of all the songs that we've had on Emergency, he chose He's the Groove.
There you go.
Tate, man, a real downtown New York City record, man.
Awesome.
That was great.
Yeah, so Jason played this song, and it happens to be on Emergency Records, and of course, Curtis Urbina. So, just a really brief history. I know Curtis. I met Curtis when I was a member of the record pool, and I used to manage all the promotions and productions for the record pool, and talking to all the record labels. And in comes Curtis, who's actually you were just like a couple of doors down. So.
We weren't very far. At that time, we were on 21st Street, right in Broadway, and you guys were down on 17th.
And Broadway.
Right? Broadway, that's
exactly.
Right.
So, and I learned a lot. But, so anyway, Curtis Urbina from Emergency Records is how I met him, yes. And he's going to tell us his story because he's got a lot of great stories. So I'm just going to
I wouldn't even know. That's such Jason. That's a total.
Well, let me ask you a question. It's something that I found really, really impressive today. You used to teach at NYU.
I did.
Right, I work in NYU.
Do you really? Yeah, I taught for probably a little bit over 10 years. I taught. I went in the school of continuing, professional studies, and I went in as a guest speaker. Not very similar to going in as a guest, and I guess I must have done very well with them because the few weeks later they asked me to come by and do it again, and I did it again and a third time, and finally they just asked me to stay on, and I started teaching the business of music, the music business courses.
Is that the one on West 4th Street?
Yep, right down on
That's
West 4th
exactly
Street,
where
right there.
I work in the Stern Building.
Yeah, exactly. And if you know NYU, like any college, every class, every semester was in a totally different building wherever they had space. So
is that like a school of music? Because I know NYU has...
later on it became the Clive Davis School of Music, which is the big program right now. But then it was just it was part of the continuing study. So I had a lot of people who were interested in business, and they would take night classes, and that sort of dove into the fact that record labels started sending people who they wanted to teach the record business to my classes. So, I turn around, there'd be people from RCA Records and many other labels, and they would be taking classes just to learn about the business because they were just working at labels, but they didn't really know about the business. So,
right.
So the attendance increased, and it was a nice time, nice time.
But
that's awesome.
So Professor Urbina.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny to be referred to as a professor, and here I am, just a music guy.
That's very cool.
And just having some fun. So.
Well, it's funny you said, because what you just said right now, that they went in, like they didn't, know the profession, they didn't, the business, but they went in and talked about it. But that's exactly how I learned it, how you guys came in. It was all about, learned it, right? It was all about the experience.
Right.
And you're going to tell us all about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that when I'm thinking about coming here and then thinking about moments that I've had, and you sort of like, as you look back and you can reflect, you say, wow, like what got me into the record business. But there were a lot of things that occurred, from early on, just the little things you don't remember. Like, my brother, who is no longer with us, but a couple years earlier, he would want to hang out at the fire station. He wanted to be a fireman. Oh, yeah. And so my mom would make me take him to the fire station, and I had nothing to do. I didn't want to be a fireman. But it just turned out, you look back, I go, right next to the fire station was a small record store. Right. So I used to hang out with the guy at the record store.
What fire station was that?
It was on, I grew up in the Bronx, so it was on 165th, I want to say, in Ogden Avenue up there. Because I grew up in the projects of the Bronx.
Ogden, I know. I
grew up 5 blocks from Yankee Stadium.
Right.
And so I, just in talking with the guy, I got to strike up a relationship with him and just hanging out. And at that time, all he did was sell 7-inches.
Right.
That's all he did. So, and because I hung out there, occasionally he would let me get behind the counter and start to sell, 7 inches. And sure enough, my friends started coming in, and all of a sudden he just stepped aside and said, "Well, why don't you just sell to your friends?" And it's funny because I got paid in 45s.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And you're a kid.
You didn't get any money; you just got paid. So every so often I get the hottest 45, and before I knew it, I had a little. You remember one of those little boxes that you used to carry around?
Yeah, I still have a little metal one, right?
Little metal box.
It looked like a lunchbox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I began to realize how cool it is to have records, right? You know that as DJs,
absolutely.
but I didn't know. I wasn't,
No,
geared for that, but. All of a sudden I'm getting invited to parties and house parties because I had the music.
You were the record, you were the music man.
You were the jukebox.
You can come and bring your little box with you.
Yo, make sure you invite Curtis. He's got all the records.
I got all the records.
He's got all the records.
And that's exactly how it started. So, and it was so much fun because then you would just, you had a little player and you just stack. And they would drop.
Right.
Once one song was over, the next one would drop, and you'd have to stack a record. So
I'm still trying to remember the name of the centerpiece.
I say it's the spindle, and
spindle.
we talk about that.
So I didn't go home and research it.
Yeah, so you think back, but really, my question getting involved in the record business was, I went to college. I went to the State University at New Paltz, and and I had a college roommate there that we didn't get along. He was on the swim team and I was going to be on the wrestling team, and it turned out back in those days the city was broke back in the late 70s. So they dropped a lot of programs. So all of a sudden I just hanging out in school now. And I didn't like my roommate. He didn't like me. So I ended up getting another roommate the following semester who turned out to have some music business experience.
Wow.
He had worked as an intern and started summer jobs at a small label in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And we both had successful careers in the music business. He was doing, a little promotion and A&R at a company called Midland Records at the time.
Midland, I remember Midland.
Midland Records had a couple of hits with
part of United Artists, right?
Well, I don't think they were, but they had Fly Robin Fly by Silver
Right.
Convention. They
Right.
had Doctor's Orders by Carol Douglas.
Right.
So there are a lot of people who came out of there.
That split yellow and white label.
Right. And my roommate, who was big music executive today, Corey Robbins.
We got to get him in here.
So Corey, and I, we hung out in college together, and he became a DJ, up at a couple of clubs up there, but eventually the first disco up there called 2001, and I became the bartender, and that's how we spent, and we just had a blast doing that. But then my parents moved from the Bronx to Colorado, and I needed a job, and Corey hooked me up with Midland Records at the time, then became Midsong Records. And I started in the mailroom, and that began my career in the music business. So I'm like one of those true guys that just got in at the mailroom and happened to be there.
You worked your way up,
and I worked my way up, and I was fortunate enough that as I was there, I was doing my mailroom duties, and disco exploded. And they needed someone to go to clubs.
Right. Yeah. Oh, wow.
So, and
not just to mail out the promotions.
We got a chance to meet recently. You and I at Copacabana, but the guy who was doing promotions for Midsong Records at the time was a DJ at the original Copacabana on 60th Street, right? Whose name was Tony Gio.
Okay.
So I worked for Tony Gio, and that was quite the experience. But I was able to start going out to clubs and taking 12 inches to DJs and working my way up to the booth and so forth. And that, that's truly the beginning.
Amazing.
Of my story.
So your vinyl collection just continued from the minute you were a kid, and by chance, right? Taking your brother right over to get to the fire station and then the record shop and just so initially it's always like, how did you get into this? The first answer is just by taking your brother to the fire station and hanging out at the record shop.
Exactly right. Just by hanging out. And back then, like we're talking about 72. I mean, soul, black music, R&B music back in 72, man. When you start playing some of those New Birth, you go back, Dennis Coffey with Scorpio. And
Right.
Like real old school people, who know.
Even Average White Band was there at that time.
I mean, but they came a little bit later, got more commercial, but I'm talking about like real.
Right.
Bobby Womack stuff, like real New York City gritty.
Jerry Butler.
Jerry Butler, all those guys. It was some good stuff. You know, music was rich.
Al Green,
stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun to be, you know, involved in that.
Amazing.
And it really is. It's my history now. It's like every time, you know, I'm on Spotify or Apple or any of the streaming sites, and I start going deep down the rabbit hole, and I find tracks. Man, it just activates my cell memory, you know, and the memories just start coming back from like, wow, I remember I was 13, hanging out with my boys.
Today's music could never compare to
you know, it's it struggles, but it doesn't have that same, you know, impact.
Yeah, it wasn't organic enough. You know, today's not organic. That was organic. That was emotional. That was a lot of, you know, and the instruments were raw
and it was real. You know, I was just doing that as I was listening on the ride down today, and you know, I was listening to some of the older stuff, and you know, I mean, a guitar track was really a guitar track.
Yeah,
you know, you know, like you know, you could really feel the guy playing the guitar and stuff, not like a sample guitar track.
Everything is quantized now.
Yeah, so
that is amazing.
Nice.
That's awesome, man. So I will share. So of course we're here at the Mix Lab. My great host Jason Rios. I'm Lefty Hernandez, and our wonderful guest Curtis Urbina. I will share that he does still. I think it's almost weekly, right? You send out. I get your link. He's got a Spotify page, and I think I started to send it out, and I'm even going to put it up on our pages here so that you guys can go ahead and just start tapping in and follow him, because of the fact that every time he puts up a list on Spotify, it's just original, all that classic music. It's some great playlists. And it's always reinventing itself, you know.
It's
tell us about that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a labor, you know, it's just a joyful labor. It's my moments that I get, you know, when I'm relaxing and I'm meditating, and I find music, and so I want to go deep, and then it becomes about the history of music, you know, especially from our culture as dance aficionados. Like, I like dance, and so I like the evolution of dance music and the history of it. Where did it evolve from? Like, most people will remember disco, but disco had to come from somewhere else. Right. And as you start to, you know, go down that hole, you start to look at tracks and start to go deeper, and you go further than the commercial successes that everyone knows.
Exactly.
And if you can go tap into like B-sides or rare grooves and things like that, and you can, you know, bring that up and put that in front of someone. Like, if you know, everyone remembers Evelyn Champagne King, Shame, or Carrie Lucas and their songs, but they also had albums, and they also had careers before they became disco artists.
Right.
And so I really searched deeper into their careers and find things that you go like, wow, I didn't know she could do that, or she had that range. Or even if you go back to the old Philly sound and you start getting deeper into Vince Montana and deeper into the Philly soul sound stuff. So that's what I look for. So a lot of my playlists, you know, come from that. And you know, it's funny because a lot of it stems from when I'm driving and I'm in just a good state. You know, driving, man, you get into that groove, and I'll remember a song, or I'll hear a song, and it'll take me back, or tap something in me that says, "Oh man, you know, where can I take this that's deeper?" And then I start to think about that. And then I search the internet and start to go. And so there are a lot of resources out there, but it takes some time, takes some, you know, patience, and then putting it together. And then you get a playlist and you go, wow, now the idea is to share this to everyone. So the feedback I get from people is like amazing. And it's usually, you know, feedback from people who understand it. A lot of feedback comes from overseas. The Europeans understand it, and especially in the UK, so I get a lot of feedback from there. A lot of our guys from the music business who were there with us will call up and go, wow, I forgot about that track, or I forgot about that feeling, you know. And so it's fun. And you know, then I have my Mixcloud channel, which is Radio Quark, and that really started, and that came about during COVID, you know, because there were a lot of DJs who were not playing anywhere. They couldn't go to clubs anymore, so a lot of them were floundering and really not knowing what to do. And I was having chats with them or communicating with them online and so forth. So I said, well, why don't you, you know, do a 60-minute mix at home and send it to me, and I'll create a Mixcloud channel and put it up. And I started doing that, and all of a sudden I started getting mix tapes from around the country and then around the world, and people were giving me stuff and saying, can you put this up? And people started following the channel. And I was like,
nice.
this is pretty cool. And I wasn't doing it for we don't monetize it. We don't do anything. And we just said, hey, let's get it out there.
Share the love.
Yeah, we're sharing the
Share
love.
the love.
And from that, some of those DJs are getting gigs. They're building their fan base and stuff like that. So it's fun to watch.
That's awesome. And I have to tap on the fact that you do this so diligently, you do it wholeheartedly, and the fact that you said it, the time that it takes, it's very time consuming, and you got to have the patience and tolerance, but yet you do it, and you don't miss a beat.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
And it's wonderful, and so we've got a lot of ground to cover, right? Jay and I were earlier on, we were just racking our brain because one of the things that you shared was one of your Spotify lists, and it's actually called Emergency Records.
Yeah.
So with that said, and as I mentioned, that's how I met you.
That's right.
I
Which is
met
how
you-
most
yeah.
people remember me as
Yeah.
well.
So I was at
Emergency.
IDRC Record Pool, as I talk about it all the time, and that's a record pool house where the record labels are sending all the promotional records into the record pool distribution so that they can distribute it out to the DJs to get it played in the clubs, right, for immediate feedback. I meet you because of Emergency Records, and as soon as I was a part of the pool, like my highlight there were, and I say it all the time, your little brother, and you know what, you tell us the story. And Jason also mentioned the fact that he was concerned, because he thought when I say Curtis Urbina and Emergency Records, to me you're Emergency Records, right? But yet, it was created by some. So tell us about Emergency Records.
The story of Emergency, it's a wonderful story in that it was actually started by an Italian company out of Italy called Baby Records. And Baby Records, wanted to find a way of taking some of their club records that were having success in Italy and trying to get them out here in America. And at that time, companies would try and license it to different companies.
Right.
But they decided to take a different approach, and so what they did was they formed, along with another gentleman who has a great history in dance music in America, Roy B.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they hooked up with Roy B. And they formed, started Emergency Records. And then I was hired by Roy B. to come in and do promotion for Emergency Records. Simultaneously, while Roy B. was working Emergency Tracks, he was also working Roy B. Promotions. He had a promotion company. He was having some good success with that.
Roy B. in Florida.
Roy B. in Florida, right.
Roy B. Okay.
And Roy B. goes way back before that.
Exactly.
Roy B. goes back to like some good old days and some good old tracks that if you played them, you go like, wow.
Right.
So he's just amazing in himself, and he's the ultimate promoter. I mean, Roy B. can promote. He still promotes. He works with Company B today,
Company B today,
which is amazing. Right, which he resuscitated.
Yeah.
And
Fascination is the song, by the way.
Right. So, but working in Baby Records was releasing a couple of things, and I think they had a couple of album releases here. One was by DD Sound called Cafe. Cafe was the that's it. That's the song. Cafe.
You know what? I'm going crazy looking for my vinyl copy because it's not the same.
Cafe was there.
The vinyl as what you get.
I still got the
you
vinyl.
have it?
See, so everybody still keeps that stuff.
And I'll let you get back. That track right there, what we have in the vinyl is amazing.
It is a
what you
classic.
look for or online and what you find digitally
you
is
can't.
not the same. It's not the same.
Pressing is amazing.
Anyway,
So Cafe was
Go
the
ahead.
first one, and I believe that we did Max Berlin. And at that time, we were having some success, and then there was a billboard, but it was costing a lot of money. Starting a record label during those days, you manufacturing and pressing and manufacturing and distribution and the whole thing. It was a big process.
Yeah,
back in the
then,
day,
yeah.
it's not like you just put it up online today and you're done.
Plus the fact that the whole things that were happening overseas, and then that's when the import was a big deal.
There
back
was
then, 25%
there was
of our music,
a
right?
lot going on. So it was costing Babies a considerable investment, and I think they were getting a little nervous about it. So what happened was they decided they came into New York. I think it was for one of the last Billboard dance conventions that was being held at the Hilton. So they came in with a couple of their executives, And one of the people who was working for them at the time was a gentleman named Sergio Cosa. Now, Sergio Cosa was a DJ in Italy who worked with Baby Records, and he came to New York. And Sergio and I hooked up. We connected, and we became, just had a great vibe going and, understood what was happening. But we went through this convention. Everything went back. Baby eventually, at some point, went back to Italy and decided they no longer wanted to do it this way. They didn't want to have Emergency Records or a label, full-fledged label in the States. So Sergio saw that as an opportunity to not only have a record label as a DJ, but also to find his way to America.
Right.
So he purchased the label from Baby Records.
And this is in 79, right?
This is probably around 79, right. Just early 80. And he came to America and started running. It was his label at the time. And when he got here, he called me, and we connected, and we said, "All right, let's go do this."
And that's when the magic began.
And that's when it began. So we started, releasing records. We were trying to find. We were trying to find any record that we could get to release through any of our contacts. And Sergio still had some contacts as a DJ back in Italy.
Right.
So we got a couple of records. I think one of them first one was Go Dance by Billy Moore.
Okay.
And
which is on the
Snooky
list.
Tate, which you just played. We found anywhere we could get a record to release, we were finding.
It's funny because most of the records that are on your label became hits. I mean, you can still play them today, and people know what they are.
It's funny. A few of them became, very rare classics and hard to find records and stuff like that. There were a lot that people never heard of, or when they do hear them, they go, "Wow, that was on Emergency. I didn't know that." Because
right,
because at the time, Sergio was finding these tracks. I was in the back. I was always the guy in the back who was setting up the distribution for the records and getting them out around the country.
Right, mail them out.
Yeah, and I had to deal with all the distributors around the country who always owed us money, and we always owed them. So it was there was a lot of work behind the scenes of
that was
these
a
records.
big deal. The distributors back then was a big deal
too.
And
it was
worldwide.
people owed you money, and you had to go get it, and that was the only way you can buy it, get it licensed, another record, or it was a way you could manufacture and press a record.
And you as a label too, the distributors would be like, well, if you're going to distribute through that distributor, you can't distribute through mine.
Well, we always had that competition, but you find
I was out in Long Island.
You find a good network of distributors, and you work with them, and and you had to work with them because they owed you money, and you had the vinyl, and they wanted to get records back. So it was like I said, it was a long process, but at the time it was also a lot of fun. But when you think back, there were. For every hit that we have, Jason, for every record that people remember as a hit, there were probably a dozen other records that were sort of just under the radar or stuff that just to keep us going, keep us afloat and stuff like that.
Right.
But there are certainly notable moments in Emergency history that people go, "Oh man, yeah, I remember that track." And I think if you look back, there were certain benchmarks. Like the first one, like I mentioned Cafe, I mentioned Max Berlin, and there would have been Easy Going. There's a bunch of records in that playlist.
And that's real disco.
That's right. But I think the first record that got us noticed, where people went, look at these guys. Who are these guys?
Yeah.
Would probably have been I'm Ready by Kano.
Yeah.
Right?
That was a
by
classic.
Kano, right.
That
Everybody
was a
goes, "Oh yeah."
And here's the funny, and I was telling you before that, because everyone again, so the commercial success later on, recognizing, but you long ago, and even as a DJ before the record pool, and playing Kano, right, Jason, we're playing I'm Ready, and you had to get 2 copies.
Yeah,
because you had to, you had to go back to back.
Which it's funny that bass line eventually became the lead hook for Woot There It Is. They sampled it from Kano.
Really?
Kano, I'm Ready.
Is that
it's
amazing?
if you go Woot There It Is.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's Kano, I'm Ready.
Holy snap!
Right.
You see that?
Right. So they cleared the sample with us, but it's but people, that's a little bit of history that people may not be aware of. But but after that, then there was Vinzy, Funky Bebop, which we Bebop, right? Exactly. So if you people start to hear these things, they go, "Wow, okay." But those became like sort of like benchmarks. Like people go like, "Whoa, there's Emergency. Oh, these guys are legit.
Right.
Oh, these guys are real." And then and you had to at that point. Then we began to create street credibility, and we didn't think much about what is today called branding. Today, yesterday,
Right.
Back then it was just your reputation.
Yeah, just
right?
put it out there,
you
man.
had a rep.
Yeah,
that was it. So we just wanted to keep it going because people back then used to buy, vinyl or buy records
Or cassettes,
but really they would buy it on the success of the label as well.
Right.
So if you had
Right.
like it's hard today because you don't see all the graphics and everything.
That's so true.
But you remember we used to go to record stores
Yeah.
and you'd have your section.
Yeah, J&R with that big wall.
Yeah,
when you saw the
you
label,
saw Emergency Records,
Right.
you knew you had to buy one.
You went straight to it. It was a magnet.
Right, and so you had to maintain that street credibility,
Right.
And it wasn't easy all the time,
Right.
And one of, and at least the DJs were, and the real club goers and the people who were buyers of that genre and that format, the 12-inch vinyl, were loyal. They give you a shot, but if you had one that didn't cut it, it was like, you had two, you're like, yo.
Yeah, what's going on?
Three,
right.
you're like,
now you
see ya.
Right, when they go to the shop, now they're looking at your label and they go, I'm gonna go over here now.
Yeah, exactly. There became a lot more options. So
and that's what, when Prelude and all these.
So
labels
it's all
started,
about maintaining our street credibility and reputation and stuff like that. And we got fortunate quite a few times. We were also big fans of a good sound, like Jason just mentioned. Like if you put on some of these tracks today, they still sound good, and that was very important to us. The structure of the song, the structure of the production, and ultimately, again, if you go back and you start listening to those tracks, you'll hear the performance, the artist itself, and what our producers were able to get out of the vocalists who were involved. And we've had some great vocalists.
Those are tracks that when you play it in your car, you're singing on the top of your lungs.
Right.
And people are looking at you like, what the hell's going on in that car?
And you know what?
It's nice.
And it definitely is. And it's amazing because, again, recognizing the label, right? When you see it, you knew you ran to it, right?
Right.
There's a hit there. There's something about it. Like they had hit before, let's check out what they got. But also too, the sounds. You guys had, each label had different sounds also as well, right? Your sound and the timing of it was amazing. Electronic, and bassy.
Yeah, we got lucky because we got big in between a certain period. Like disco was just fading, it was on the downside. So we're talking about early 1980, but it was just before rap hit, so in between there, we were able, along with that bass line, and what made it unique was it was a different style of music. It was what they termed that Italian, that Italo,
I was going to say that too.
And we were fortunate with Sergio's connections and people in Europe to really give us those type of records. That's why Kano, I'm Ready, because it had that bass sound, had that hook. Vincy, Funky Bebop. And it was around that time people were just starting to get into the roller skating thing and stuff. So Funky Bebop, like, hit that groove, stuff like that. And then we just kept going from there. You just slide, and that led, and so I'm the guy who actually, with each release, I assigned the catalog number. So to me, all these records are numbers, right? So I could say 6504.
So what's 6504?
6504 would have been Kano. 6515 would have been Finzi, Funky Bebop.
Right.
Everybody remembers Shannon. Let the music play. 60 EMDS 6540.
You got that, people?
Right.
And he still remembers.
And we're building
6540.
Amazing. In dealing with distributors, I was the guy who I would I had to catalog it. I had to give it a number. It would go to mastering with Herb Powers.
Herb Powers.
He needed the number, and then it would go to the pressing plant. It would come back. I would approve the label copy, make sure all the credits were right, make sure the catalog number was right. We manufactured, press. I would have, let's say, 3,000 vinyl press, and then I had to send out the advanced copies to the distributors, get their orders. While that's happening simultaneously, I was talking to you and all the other record pools around the country.
Exactly.
So I was talking to them, doing the same thing. Emergency wasn't like a huge label. At first, it was just Sergio and I, and it began to build up. And there's a funny story about, when we, especially with I'm Ready by Kano, we needed someone to start calling, black stations, because we found, it was starting to
Pick up on the
pick
R&B.
up on the R&B, R&B stations and so forth. So we had to call somebody up, and Sergio was going to call him with his Italian accent and so forth. So they said, "Why don't you start calling these stations down in South Carolina, North Carolina?" And so I was like, okay. And I would get confused because I was talking to all these distributors, and then people would call me, and I was like, I can't keep track of all these people. So finally, I just came up with a made up name, and I called myself Spanky LePew. And so I knew that if somebody called asking for Spanky LePew, that was Spanky LePew was the guy who was responsible for calling R&B stations and stuff like that. So I would know it would be a black station from somewhere, and I got it. And I'd have to take off my distribution hat and go into my promotion hat and be the promoter, And so we had a lot of fun doing that. But eventually we started hiring other people, and we've had some great people who worked with us at Emergency.
Amazing. And this is just a little bit, right? Just the tip of the iceberg of what what this man has got. So, for those listening and just coming in, we've got Curtis Urbina here at the Mix Lab with Jason Rios. I'm Lefty Hernandez, and it's amazing all the history that he's got for us. But the thing that I wanted to point out with you and Emergency Records at that time too as well, that how disco was, all the labels were pouring out zillions and zillions of promos and releases. But the truth was that for a DJ, we were looking for you guys, the smaller labels. Why? Because the chances of you guys having a hit were actually higher, because a label like Casablanca or some of the bigger labels, they were putting out so much stuff, right? But a lot of it was not, and they were just like hungry and desperate to put things out. Yeah. And if you had one in every 8 records that it was a hit, you were like, wow. But you guys, if you had 3 records and at least one or 1.5 or whatever, flip lights, it was definitely, we already knew that there's something there. Yeah, we were committed to every release that we worked, and I tell you, one of the shocking moments for me was going down to Record Pool, IDRC, or even For the Record, which was across the street. Yeah, also, we had, and going up there, I'll remember just going to IDRC and looking at the bins, and on any given week, there would be like 60 to 80 records in a DJ's bin, right? Including ours. And I was like, where do these DJs find the time to listen to all this? Exactly. And then have to pick, how many, maybe 5 to 10 a night and new to try. Right. And you had to, because you had a responsibility to give us back the feedback on that. That's right. Or else you didn't get the next record. It was very simple. Yeah. But it was like, but it sort of enlightened me as to what the dilemma of the DJ was and the work that they had to do. So I was a little bit more forgiving up until a point where, because I also was responsible for having to work a record and, beholden to a lot of other people behind me. So I needed feedback. I needed to know where we stood. I needed it on a timely basis. I needed to know where the marketing and promotion dollars were going to go and things like that. So that made it hard. So I put a lot of pressure on the DJs as well. Even I became known as the guys. If DJs weren't playing records, I would be like, well, give it back to me. Yeah. Give it back. I'll give it to a DJ who wants it, because I don't want to go and have to manufacture 500 more promos. When you're just sitting, you're sitting with it and you don't know, and you're speculating whether it's going to be a hit, or you just want to hold on to it until somebody else makes it a hit. I don't need you then. I need you now. Amazing. Right? From a record shop next to a fire station, right? Yeah. Well, look, I'm from the streets. I'm a hustler, But I say it all the time when they say Emergency Records at Curtis Urbina. It's funny how synonymous. Most people, that was it. I was the one who was out there a lot, and in the clubs and dancing with everyone, and I would stay out late, from visiting stuff like clubs like From Studio 54 Days and Infinity and all those, 12 West. And so I go back with the disco clubs, but then I can go into the street clubs like, Better Days, where we had T. Scott, who was there. Bruce Forrest. Bruce Forrest came later. And then, Larry Levan at the Garage. I was going to say, all those. I was just going to ask you about that. So you went to see Robbie Leslie, right, over at Studio 54? I would go to all different types of clubs. Larry Levan at the Garage. Yep. And again, your label and your sound at places like the Garage worked in both. It was crazy, and Better Days, but it definitely had a greater response, I would think. Right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's funny how that worked. That we didn't get sort of pigeonholed into one style of club. Like we were able really to get this out to many different types of clubs, and
and DJs gave it a shot. So if there was a big, gay clientele and they were dancing, the Donna Summer and things like that, and you threw on some emergency record,
Right.
And I think the secret of that, again, is as you listen to the emergency records, they were real good singers. Like some of our singers were divas in their own, and I think people were able to say, "Ooh, this girl can sing,"
right,
or "This production is hot."
So, on that note, so I think I shared, and I'm going to continue to try to share it with the people. So you send me a Spotify list, and on that Spotify list now, now I got to go back and find it. But Jay, do you know what you've got some over there on the screen?
Yeah, which songs got you guys all excited?
Not only that, but the thing is too is that there are some female, like some vocalists there that when I saw them and I was like, wow, and I remember that this girl can sing, or these were some really great vocalists, and so let's find some. We've got so much going on the screen here that we need to find that Spotify. At least I do. I know that
I'm taken back. I'm looking at all these songs that bring me back.
You see?
Yeah.
So
everybody will remember. You go back. Here we go. Let the music play. But I think where.
No. That's exactly why I wanted to point out. Like, for example, here's a great one, and everyone knows this, especially in the club days. Okay, She Can't Love You.
Oh, Shamice. Absolutely.
Okay, there you go.
Shamice was great.
She was amazing.
She was.
Yeah. You see, I know. Here's another one. Amy Stewart was,
Amy Stewart was a very big singer.
Big disco too. And that was, huge. Again, before I even came into the record pool. Knock on Wood, she did, right? She did Knock on Wood. She did a remake of Knock on Wood. Right. And so some amazing, again, here's another great vocalist that I totally forgot that she was with you. Because again, right, you hear the song or the whatever, and you just get excited, and you get to a point. The truth is, you get to a point where it's like it didn't matter. It's like once you saw Emergency, it's like, yeah, we've got hits, and you didn't even have to associate it anymore. It's like, yeah, just don't worry about it. Boom.
It's awesome.
So Maxine Singleton.
Oh, I love Maxine Singleton.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So tell us about a couple. Oh, wait.
So here's one
I'm
going to
throw it in, and you're going to tell us about this at the end, like, because it's also a song that kind of like took us into a different direction. You're going to tell us about Lady L, but save that for last.
Ice Cream Dreams. It's great. Now, look, so I started to tell you a little bit of, there were benchmarks, right? There were like songs that, like, I'm Ready. Then you had Vinzi, and people were starting to pay attention. But I think there was the one song that really, like, if we played for you today, and or when you listen to it, you'll go. I get the same reaction all the time. People look at me and go, "Yo, that's my jam!" I love that. That's my favorite. And that would have been like Firefly. Love is gonna be on your side.
I still play it.
I know it. I know it. People, they hear that. They hear the beginning of it, and they go, "Oh man." Right. Love is gonna be
that is a great
on your
song.
side. And it just comes up, and people still play it to this day. And out of all the songs, when I'm out and about, and people will come up to me and they'll go, "Yeah, we know Shannon, we know Let the Music Play, we know Give Me Tonight, we know Yo Little Brother, we know this, but dude, Love is gonna be on your side."
That was a great. It was Firefly,
and that was like the song that really took us to another level. It was that Italian sound. It was a great universal theme. Frankie Crocker played it,
and a great tempo. Right, there you go.
And that was a change.
Right.
We went from being a club and maybe with Funky Bebop and Kano, I'm Ready. That was more down south or R&B type
and
groove.
The echo in the voice.
Yeah,
love.
But Love was became the one of the early quintessential New York sounds. And Frankie Crocker was playing it. Kiss
Kiss
98
FM,
was playing
98.7.
it,
Chef
and
Pettibone,
that changed everything.
Chef Pettibone was at that point, and also too, again, right? So Emergency having history, and I always remember Emergency and the Stripes, but the fact is though that Firefly on the commercial label, it was that dark navy blue, almost black.
Your label changed and stuff like that.
And Emergency always looked like it, the neon.
Right.
But it was like, and again, it's like you have to had to be reminded of that.
Right.
Because that's how much history you guys
we kept the stripes and everything, but we changed the different colors and stuff as we began to delve into different sounds and stuff.
I'm Ready. Wasn't that like a greenish color? I'm Ready, Kano?
I'm Ready.
I remember
if I believe the jacket on that one was a multicolor one circle with it was one of the earlier,
I don't remember the
emergency
jacket,
sounds.
but it was
Yeah.
that same navy blue label for me. I had to buy records before the record pool. I had all
Yeah,
those
so
tracks.
the label
And so
itself
it
was the
that
blue
dark-
one,
yeah, it
was
that-
the dark
that
blue
navy.
one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
the jacket that the 12-inch was in was like had the circle and stuff like that. So
I'm gonna look at it when I get home.
Yeah,
again.
which
Yeah,
we
right,
eventually-
right. Yeah. Pull out the device. You remember Firefly?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that was,
And the
you know,
bottle.
Yeah. So
yeah, in the bottle came. COD was in the
it's funny
bottle.
you say that. Yeah, I was just playing that. Yeah, the Gil Scott Heron
it's
remix.
great because every time we bring up these tracks, people say, "Oh man, I was just playing that," or whether it was at home and stuff like that. And,
Right.
and it's nice to be part of that. That history that people remember those records and so forth. So
Amazing.
it's really nice to just see their reaction to
Right,
it.
right, right.
That they remember.
So we were talking about the female vocalists.
Dude, you haven't gotten to one of my favorites.
I was just gonna ask you which one is your favorite?
I
Who's
think
your favorite?
I'm
was
going to
just
go back and I'm going to say, and she's still one of my favorite people, Carolyn Harding.
Memories.
Memories.
She's an
Moving On.
amazing person.
She is an amazing
I hope she's
person.
listening because we need to get her into the studio
Yeah,
as well.
Carolyn Harding
give her a call. Tell her to come
was,
and bring her back here.
She just, and there's another one of those benchmark, records where people go, oh,
and she's
memories.
pre-house. She's
yeah.
she's like that late
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
club, R&B club, but really started to,
Yeah, she
right
was,
on the
she was
on the
pre
cusp of
Barbara.
house.
Everybody remembers
Yeah,
Barbara Tucker now,
no, but she was
go
right.
back,
She used to
and
do our shows.
yeah,
Remember?
we used to bring her to come do the shows for
Kiss
you guys.
FM
She
shows,
she
yeah.
would have done any
Hot
show.
103.
She was willing and able and ready to go out there. And
Such
she
a
did
great
lot.
person.
And such a great person.
And she always had, she came out in presentation.
Yeah.
She didn't just like.
Yeah,
wear-
she sold it.
Yeah,
She
sold
sold
right.
it. She
yeah,
was
yeah.
she was a real diva.
Real
for,
diva.
you
I was
know,
real
she
diva.
was, and she was
Good old
not a
Carolyn.
diva in a good sense, but she was able to really take a song and she and not just for us as Emergency. If you go back and you follow her discography and things she's done for King Street and things she's done for many other labels,
Right. That's
she
right.
has a body of work that she could stand on.
Yeah.
And everything that she's done is just. She gave 100%. You could hear her vocal performance, and they're timeless. Every song. So
do you get a chance to talk to her?
I haven't spoken to her in a while. She's really she's still around. She's still
She's out in Long Island.
she's out in Long Island
Yeah.
doing her
Yeah.
thing, and I think if I'm not mistaken, I think she real estate or stuff like that. But she's very. One thing about Carolyn, I always remember and admire about her. She's successful in everything she does. She's successful as a mom. She's successful as a singer. She's successful in a professional career as a real whatever she's doing.
She's a real humble person.
She's
Absolutely.
very humble.
Yeah.
So she would be embarrassed that we would be talking about her right now.
Well, I hope she's listening. And
I
this
hope
is
so.
on behalf of Jason and I, an open invitation to bring you in here,
Yeah,
and you
you
can tell us
definitely,
also,
definitely.
and you'll come along with Curtis.
Yeah, and
to
so
break the
she
ice.
was there, but and it's just a little bit before her, we had a group of guys from Boston, from the North End of Boston, which is early Arthur Baker days.
Okay.
So North End.
North End
did-
Records?
North End, featuring Michelle Wallace was on our label, and that was Happy Days.
But North End, the
okay.
artist.
The artist, yeah,
Right.
and that was a guy who I still work with to this day, Tony Carbone,
Okay.
and Arthur Baker and Russell Presto. They were all these guys came from the North End of Boston days, yeah.
We should be playing some of that stuff.
And the other, if you flip it over, there's the flip side of that was T's Happy,
T's
which
Happy.
was one of the first mixes by T. Scott from Better Days.
There you go. And it was also
And it was-
like the instrumental, and
Oh, it
came,
was
and everybody
beautiful.
loved it, and you needed 2 copies,
Right.
because of the breaks. Can we do that, Jay?
why not?
Yeah. Can we play some of that stuff, just a little bit, because here's the deal, right? So we've got a 2-hour show, and you've got so much we want to share. It's and so
Yeah,
you could play again, like I said
You can
earlier,
play,
right?
yeah.
If you play 6 or 7 records, the show's over.
Right. You can play a little bit of each, and you'll be like.
All right. So what do we got here?
You tell me, what is this?
There you go. Is this
Funky
Funky
Bebop.
Bebop? Yeah, Funky Bebop. Yeah. But so of course the DJs, we all played the instrumentals, but everybody, listen up. Here we go. Crank it up, baby.
Classics.
And it's real music. Nice. Listen to that.
So you can imagine like roller skating to this, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah,
got
yeah.
that roller skating groove.
Oh, listen.
You're at the Roxy. And you're just going around.
Yeah. I spun at 3 rinks. Yeah,
So you know.
those are the best.
Right.
But listen, appropriately named, right? Because
Right.
this song is very funky.
Yeah. Very funky.
But it has groove, funky
Right.
groove. It has style,
So you'll
yeah.
find Happy Days on that list of one we were just talking about. Yep.
That definitely is a favorite of yours, Happy Days. Well,
I
it was
love-
great.
a good
That
song.
one and yeah, crank that up. Here we go.
These are those happy days.
Right.
See, and that's what it does. You'll remember that.
Yeah. All right.
These are songs that when you hear them, they just automatically put a smile on your face.
That-
These
there
are
you go.
great songs. That's right. Like definitely the roller rink.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's definitely Roxy 1018.
Yeah. Exactly.
There you go.
But pre 1018, definitely
Right,
Roxy.
right.
Definitely Roxy. Yeah, absolutely, man. All right. Yeah, you're listening to the great sounds.
Just listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. This is North End and Michelle Wallace right here. We're talking to Curtis Urbina today from Emergency Records. Yes, they are. Listen to her.
Listen to this thing.
Listen to that voice. Everybody's got a smile on their
Yeah,
face.
man, it's like-
You know what's amazing about this? There's no reverb, no nothing. It's
clean.
just clean, right? It's just right.
Pure instrument. So a couple of things. You know what? Let's invite our listeners to
Yeah,
chime in.
Yeah, you guys, you want to call in 212-650-6903?
Yeah, you know what? You got questions, memories. Tell us about your songs and your experiences tell us about your experiences with these songs and the memories. 212-650-6903. We're here with Curtis Urbina. I call him Mr. Emergency myself because the man is just a classic.
AKA Spanky.
Oh, that's right. Spanky LePew.
Spanky LePew.
I love it. That's it.
It's always fun.
I'm gonna change. You know what? I'm gonna change your caller ID in my phone. So when
That'll
you
do it.
So when you call, it's like when people say, "Yo, call Curtis," you mean Spanky?
Yeah, and
I love it.
So I had a nice run with this for a while, and then we took it for a long time, and then I had left Emergency for a little while.
Do I remember that?
I don't know if many people remember
I don't
that.
remember
but
that.
I left Emergency for about a year while we were going through a transition, and then I was brought back in now as a full partner at Emergency Records by the guys.
Sorry.
But in the year that I left, I also worked for another record company that many people didn't know about, which was a label called Sugar Scoop and Import 12, which was owned by Mike Wilkinson.
Sugar Scoop was the
Bebop Girls, with Raul Rodriguez.
Right. And so the label was tan, but the jacket was that baby blue.
That's right.
That baby
That's
blue
right.
color.
And they had a couple of the Bebop Girls, the two sisters.
The two sisters, High Noon.
High Noon, right?
Oh my
so
God,
I worked
that's
those
you too?
records. Yeah, I worked those records.
Ladies and gentlemen, pull up a blanket. We're going to be here all night.
And then, one of the biggest records we had in the year that I worked there with them was Man Parish. Hip Hop Bebop.
Hip Hop Bebop.
Yeah, I took that one.
So
I got that one played at KTU.
With all that said, so you are actually, whether you know it or not, a pioneer of the electronic bebop. You know, when hip hop,
I think the people who work, I happen to work it, but the people who produced it would have been the pioneers of that sound, and that would have been Man Parish,
Sleeping Bag Records,
right? Man Parish, Raul, who
Raul Rodriguez
doesn't get a lot of credit for that. Certainly, Man Parrish has an illustrious career himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done a lot of records before that and after that.
Right.
But that's like his big record, which was hip hop.
That
bebop.
was. Which also, again, so you know that I do a disco party, disco boutique. I brand a disco boutique, and I'm so blessed because of that party, simply because of the fact that I'm able to still play these songs, and I do. And I played that not too long ago, hip hop bebop.
Yeah,
and it just feels so good.
The kind of reaction you get from that when people hear it.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
ridiculous.
People go, "Wow!" Like Jason just played this song, right? And the smile he had, like, you
Yeah,
see,
you know,
I should have took a picture.
It's funny
from
because
ear to ear.
this afternoon I was going through. I'm in a record pool, and I was looking at "Give Me Tonight."
Give Me Tonight.
I just
sure.
wanted to see if anybody decided to remake it. Some guy, Alex something, I forgot his name, did a remake of it. I'm like,
It
it's
just
nothing.
doesn't.
It's just
You
no
can't.
way.
And it's like
Very hard.
everything is like so computerized now.
Well,
Yeah.
Jason, Curtis, and I had been spending some time talking about the fact, like, you know, we're the pioneers of the industry, and you know, music has changed, and we need to redirect it. What can we do? And so, with that said, I mean, you know, we're playing songs with original instruments, vocalists, and all that great stuff.
Right.
It was a lot of, you know, hardware and hard labor, but is that not possible these days? I mean, Louis Vega is doing, you know,
Louis
he does
Vega's
his,
doing some great
you know,
stuff,
his
and there's a lot of
element.
in that house genre where people, you know, Vic Lavender from Chicago does it a lot. You know, they play.
Well,
they
what do you
get in
mean?
there-
These are
They
playing
make
instruments?
these real instruments,
Yeah.
and they
Right,
got
yeah.
a good vibe, and you know, and I think you know, people like us who have been around music a long time, who didn't grow up in this computer age that
Right.
you know, kids have now. So you know, it's what they know, and so they're being fed what they know. But for us, we can tell the difference, right?
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
and it's more than just the fact that it's real instruments and so forth. There's just a feel to everything.
groove. You
Yeah,
have
it's
to
a
feel
groove,
that.
and
Yeah.
you know, when it's in your system and you've been out and you've been grooving all night and dancing and you have 1,500 people around you, and
Yeah.
you remember that. There's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
about that whole memory.
And a lot of those guys went, straight into. So, like you and I come from the school, especially with all the artists that you had.
Right.
You actually booked the studio at,
Right.
Sigma Psi, at 10 p.m. And you were in there until 8 in the morning.
Yeah,
Okay, and you were jamming all night, but you were, in the mix, in the studio, doing all these cuts and takes,
Right.
and the instruments, and roll that again and play that again. We've got a call. This is, I love it.
Awesome,
We've
awesome.
got a call. Lower that music there behind so that we can hear everybody. And awesome, thank you.
This is a mixed bag. I'm
He's so
Oh
excited.
man,
Bag? Yeah, it's a big mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag.
it's a mixed bag, all right.
We're here with
With Curtis Urbina. Who's talking to us? Who's laughing on the other end?
This is rhythm.
Hey, Rhythm.
Hi,
Rhythm.
The
What-
mixed bag. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm too excited.
What do you got for Curtis?
Well, I just want to say, welcome to the Mix Lab. I'm your chat room host. I'm on the
Awesome.
forums communicating with everyone. And I just want to say thank you. Oh, Lefty, man, you sent me that link for Spotify. I was like, yes. Oh, my God.
Don't thank
I
me.
just-
Thank Curtis.
No, but you sent it to me, and I was like, oh.
No, you getting the
okay.
thanks, man. I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, she did. She did respond to me. We were having you know how we would get in here with the short time. We go into panic mode. But yeah, I saw that you responded and you were like you were scoped.
Yeah, I was like, wow, it's like I was listening to the tracks, and I'm like, wow.
And Rhythm, I will add this: if you click on my profile and you follow it, you'll see my other playlist there, and you'll be amazed. You'll go deeper. There'll be other.
did.
Yeah,
I've
you'll
seen
see
all of them.
some tracks from 1972 from back in our day, man. Just like hanging out.
You're creating them. I actually learned how to DJ recently, and now she's gonna be getting all of your stuff,
All the stuff.
and I'm gonna be hearing it over and over and over again.
Well, I think that's a good thing because of the
Yeah.
fact that how we talk about today's music,
Yeah.
and I really believe that our music is just what needs to be kept alive.
Yeah.
It's all well and good and producing new stuff and everything, but so yeah, go ahead, Rhythm, pull out those old tracks and start jamming.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I opened the link, and I was like, whoa, like, oh my God, like, this is great. I was
Awesome.
so excited. I'm so excited that you're there. You're sharing, your musical journey with us. You know, people. This is what I love about the Mix Live now. Bring these people in, these musical legends coming in. You know, and people getting to know, you know, your journey and what you brought to all of us. You know, in that era where, you know, we just went out and danced and, you know, had great time. You know, now things have changed and, you know, they don't make music like that anymore, you know.
You're right about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for
all
the
feeling you have
thank
given
you.
me.
Thank you
for
so
calling
much
in.
for the words. Appreciate
Awesome.
that.
Thank you,
Thank you
Rhythm.
for calling in, Rhythm.
Okay.
Blessings. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
We
Bye.
got a David Charles to say hello.
Hi,
Curtis.
David.
Awesome. There you go. You see. So yeah, man, you know, that list is filled with hits. And you're always, as I mentioned earlier, you're always telling me, you know, I get your Spotify's, you know. So also tell us, you know, in conversations, you still work with some DJs. So we also want people to know, and we're trying to squeeze it all in here. You're still working with record labels, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But you're also still working with DJs, right? Aren't you?
Yeah, I still work. You know, I represent a couple of DJs. You know, who are still.
When you say represent,
Well, they're signed to my label. I
you go.
still have my own label, which you know, while I was in emergency and it was going through transition, we were thinking about what to do. At the time, I had a DJ working with me, Freddie Bastone. Right, Freddie Bastone, who is still with me.
Freddie
Still-
who?
Freddie Bastone, still working with me and still gives me a couple of mixes, but he's working at a club here in New York called Ethel's.
Oh, okay.
And he's there, you know, every week, and he's built quite a following
All right,
there.
well, you know what? We'll go pay him a visit. That's what
but,
we got to do.
But Freddie, you know, back in the time, you know, music was going through another transition. We had just come out of the Shannon days and so forth. And you know, since we had some hits, I used to host this Friday afternoon where new producers could come and they could play me. We would meet in the conference room and they could play me their latest productions.
Amazing.
And
That's a
we
great
would,
idea.
and Freddie and I would sit in there and we would listen to them. And it was a way of, you know, sort of giving back to the up and coming producers and development. And Freddie Bastone found the record that we both absolutely just like. Well, first let me backtrack. We got a young girl came from Chicago named Screaming Rachel. And Screaming Rachel came. Screaming Rachel came, who's an amazing artist in herself. But Screaming Rachel came in, and she's
a big house head.
She's a big house head, and she played. And I knew something about house, but I didn't know what house was.
Yeah.
Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And so she flew in from Chicago when she was visiting labels in New York, and she came to visit us, and she played me this cassette, and I said, "This is really good. You know, it has the makings of something good. When you finish it, why don't you bring it back and we'll take a listen to it?" And she goes, "No, this is finished. This is house music." And so I began to realize, wow, it's very sparse, very different groove. Let me explore this some more. And in exploring it, you know, we kept our ears open. And then it was Freddie Bastone who hooked up with a young New Jersey producer named Kevin Hedge. Kevin Hedge was with two of his friends, you know, Josh Milan and Chris Herbert, and they formed the group Blaze. And Blaze, you know, had, you know, What You Gonna Do for Love.
What a Jersey sound.
Yeah,
That's an
it was original
Jersey
Jersey gospel, which, you know, it was. You know, it became known as house, but it was really Jersey gospel roots.
Yeah.
You know, these guys were from the church and so forth.
It's like that club
And
R&B, you know,
yeah,
that really
there was
good.
and that's what I loved about it. You know, it had all the elements of that street house sound, but it also took it another level. You know, and I think a lot of those Jersey guys did that.
They did.
And Josh is an amazing guy.
Yeah, Josh.
Zanzibar,
Josh is
Club
amazing.
88.
Yeah, you had Tony Humphries at Zanzibar, and these guys were all getting played out there.
The sound.
Yeah, I had the honor of playing with Josh Milan in the club, and that kid tore it
Oh
up.
yeah,
He's
he's
amazing. Such a
he's
humble guy,
legit.
too.
He's legit. He's like a musician, you know, and that's what you want. So I took this track that I Blaze, What You Gonna Do, and I took it to Sergio, who, you know, we're partners at the time, so I took it to him, and he couldn't hear it, you know, which he just didn't understand it.
Sure.
And there was a lot of other factors, you know, business was getting tougher, and so his head may not have been in the right place. But I said, look, you know, I'm not gonna let this track go, so I'm gonna release it myself, and I started Quark Records.
That's right.
You know, I started.
That's right.
It was my first Quark record.
Oh my
and
God! I totally forgot about that.
I think I pressed 500 copies, and I got them delivered to my to my apartment in the city. So now my living room, I have all these boxes of records, and I'm thinking, all right, what do I do now? Right? So I figured I got up like on a Wednesday and Thursday, and I had a little shopping cart, man. I just love being a New Yorker, man. I had a little shopping cart. So I threw in like as many boxes as I could, right? Which must have been like 6 boxes or something. And I jumped on the train. I literally had to pick up the shopping cart and take it over the turnstile.
Right.
Because
the
guy wouldn't open the door, right?
That was a workout there.
Right. And then I went down to Rock and Soul,
Okay.
Vinyl Mania, Downtown Records, and I said, would you guys like take a box of this? I just had to get them out of my living room. I said, can you just take a box of these and put them up and stuff like that? It's a new record on Quark. It's, Blaze, what you're going to do. And so I got everyone to take a box or 2, and I was thrilled. And I must have done that on a Friday. By Monday morning, I get this call like, hey, can you bring me,
we need more
300 copies of this? I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
They go, turns out, Frankie Crocker purchased a copy on the weekend and started banging it on BLS, and Quark was born.
See, this is how you made records.
That's how we did it.
This is how this is really.
And so I just kept on pressing, and people kept on buying, and it was, it was the beginning of Quark, and I released a couple of Blaze tracks, a couple of Jomanda tracks, and it was just a whole different wave of people, and so that began Quark back in 1987, and I still have Quark to this day. So I still release like probably 12 to 15 singles a year, a couple of albums. I work with DJs. I have a new group of DJs who are college students who go by the name of Melizos. They're down. They play the festival circuit, EDM music down
overseas.
Down south.
Sorry.
And I will tell you, it's the same philosophy we had at Emergency. Is the same philosophy I have at Quark. I'm not pigeonholed into any sound. I just put out music
when you hear something good.
When I like it and it just feels right and feels good, I get it and I put it out, and I just allow people to find it organically, and I put it on playlists, or I create playlists around it. I do whatever needs to be done. And so we have we have Melizos we're working. There's another guy I'm working with out of New Jersey called DJ Corvez, who does a lot of records for us, and he has a great following overseas in Greece and so forth. But he's a very, very talented. A lot of people I work with are very talented, but they're just under the radar.
They just need that. They need that boost.
People just need to find them. And as I always remind them, I go, you're only like 3 minutes and 28 seconds away from fame.
Right. This is true.
It just takes that one track that people explode, and then all of a sudden, like, people find you.
That's amazing. And with that said, so Jason, here there's an upbeat to this, and the fact that here I say it all the time. This is a radio platform, the perfect platform to do these kind of things. So you've got tracks, bring them to us. Let us play it. Play it to the people and get these things exposed, get them out there, get them known. Do you manage any of these guys, or they just happen to fall on the?
They just happen to fall on the Quark, and it's funny because a lot of it is, do I manage? Ever since, as long as I can remember, you're always managing someone, right? Whether it's a producer or
they're
an
calling
artist
you at 3
or a
a.m.
DJ, it's always, it's always managing something. So it's a lot of fun in that sense to be able to be. It's nice to be considered their go-to person for some guidance or some support. So I'm pretty much like, these guys are all on their own path, and the way I sort of explain it to them, I go, look, you gotta keep carving your road. You gotta go on your path, and it's gonna be bumpy. It's not easy in the business today. It's not easy.
It's
in
also
life,
your own niche.
But you gotta do it. You gotta do the work, because a lot of people will want you to do the work for them.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just doesn't work that way. But it's also nice for them to hear that, look, I have a lot of years of experience here, but you still got to do the work, and I won't allow you to put the pressure on me.
Right, it's not rare. It's not
because
fair.
then you'll use me as the crutch, or you'll use me as the reason you failed, and that's not right.
Right. If you want it bad enough, right?
You got to want it just as bad as I want it for you.
Sure.
But what I explained to them, I go, you go out there and you make your mistakes, and you'll learn. We'll learn together, because, like I said, markets change and the conditions change every day. But the one thing I promise you is, on your road, I will provide the guardrail.
There you go.
You know, so you'll hit the guardrail a few
Right.
more times,
Yeah.
but I won't let you fall off the cliff.
Like in bowling, right? Those
Right,
gutter
yeah,
rails.
the gutter rails,
The gutter
right?
rails,
So,
right?
you know, so
yeah.
you'll hit it.
We'll keep you in line.
But we'll keep you on
Yeah.
track and keep you focused. So it's nice to be recognized by a lot of people as such, and the idea is to just keep them working, because and this goes back to what you were saying before, Jason, which is at the end of the day, you're creating, and I like to remind them of this, you're creating this body of work, which is your work. And you want to be able, regardless of whether it was a commercial success but 10 years from now, when you look back and you are listening to this music, you should still be able to say, yeah, man, that was good.
Right,
and it still sounds
and it's still
good,
yeah. You know,
right?
our music is already 40. There's some of it 50 years old.
Crazy, right?
And it's still cranking out the clubs. You know, like to play it at 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever time, 10 o'clock, and people are dancing and jamming to it. That is,
it's crazy. You know, you and I spent spent a little time just recently at the Copa when I came down for Joey Carvello's book signing.
Who's going to be?
Who's another legend? And that's a true legend as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But you know, I was shocked to see on the dance floor people hustling.
Isn't that beautiful?
That was so beautiful.
Yeah. So
that sight. Was
I say it all the time. My Nancy is, you know, I got my, you know, my trade is DJ.
Yeah.
Hers is dancing, and the hustle dancing. It's beautiful to watch. Yeah,
I got chills, and I just, you know, and just seeing it just reminded me of all those nights hanging out and the beauty of watching people engage in a dance together and hold each other and serve. It is an art form, and one that's been lost.
No, well, you know, here's the deal. There's still a big community of it. There's
Which
still,
I found out.
There's still a lot going on. They take it to. They'll have parties at the dance studios. They'll do some some classes, and then they'll also continue and have you know the party there, and it's still a beautiful thing. Again, the music. So this is why I turn to you all the time.
Music, and it's our music.
I say it all, what are we gonna do? I say it all the time, Curtis. What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
what are we gonna do, Curtis, to keep this thing alive?
It's our music, you know, and that was the beauty of it. So I love that. I love that part.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I do a lot of events over the summertime. I do house music.
Okay,
but a lot of times I take my old classics and I mix it with the new stuff. And people look at me like, whoa, like it's a new sound. And I'm like, you know, I want to incorporate it. You know, so now I learned the trick. I'm not going to say it online because I don't want people jumping out. But I learned the trick that I'm able to extract vocals and put it on new music. And I'm learning it. I'm loving it, you know?
Yeah.
But I saw that one of the guys that you were working with was Roger Sanchez.
Yeah,
I worked with Roger Sanchez. I did a couple of his.
Excellent.
I worked with him out of Miami many times.
Right.
I was actually working for Sonny Lopez.
Another good guy.
Who was his tour manager. And he was... I was the one that every time I went to DJ, I always got nervous.
Yeah.
So I asked Roger one day, I'm like, Raj, how is it that every time you get on, you're not nervous? And he looks at me and goes, Jay, I get nervous. Right. He goes, what you need to do, get in the DJ booth, close your eyes, hear the music, forget about everybody.
Right.
And remember, they hire you to do what you do best.
Right. Do what you do.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. But when it was my turn to play, I was nervous again.
Sure.
So what I did, closed my eyes and I started hearing the music and I was in another world.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I kind of rocked out that night. I was like, whoa, I got to keep this mindset all the time.
Yeah.
Roger's always been a very spiritual person that way. And, you know, it's funny because
creative.
He used to come up to Quark Records all the time. And, you know, he did his first record for me. It wasn't even, I didn't even release it on Quark. It was such a different and unique record. It was called Dream World.
Okay.
And it was Roger. It was Ego Trip featuring Roger S.
Right. Okay.
I remember that artist.
I gave just to make him go away. I gave him like $500. I said, just go do it. I don't care. And I gave him a check and $500, and he came back with this very just avant-garde, strange record.
The kid is magical.
Yeah, and it was great.
I've been not even in the studio. I've been in the hotel room. We were at the Satai Hotel in Miami.
Yeah,
and we went up there. He took out a laptop. It looked like a little studio in the hotel.
In a hotel.
And he just threw on his headphone, and we were mesmerized.
He's amazing.
Just does his thing.
And then when he gets behind the decks, he had on Colonel Abrams singing. Mm-hmm. So we're on the dance floor, we're dancing, and I'm hearing like, oh, that's my jam. And I turned around and looked at the DJ booth, and guess who's there? Colonel Abrams live singing on top of his track.
awesome.
I'm unbelievable.
That's awesome.
He,
That's
you
awesome.
know, again, and very talented producer, and of course, coming from the school of DJs, an original DJ, a guy that gets up in front of a crowd with 4 players,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And all 4 lines are open.
Yep.
Open.
Yep.
Okay, us DJs, we cue, we do it in
Right.
our ear, we
Yeah.
cue, and then we
He's
release,
just-
right? He's got open lines, and he's hitting and punching and mixing
Yeah, yeah.
open line.
Right.
Right there. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
he's-
It's the
he
talent.
gets it. He gets
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
thing about, not just playing music, but reading the crowd and
Right.
playing for the crowd,
Right,
which
yeah.
is very important,
Of
right?
course,
You
right.
you allow them
You gotta
to
feel it.
weave and work and do their magic, and they know. Like I was I love to get out on the dance floor and just lose myself, and I would know when the DJ was in tune with us.
Right.
Because the next song would come and you just didn't want to leave the floor.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
just-
exactly.
You couldn't
They
leave
hook
the
you.
floor,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You're just
Come
like,
on, man.
I'm thirsty.
You're right, you're
I got to
right.
go get some water or some
Come
punch.
on, man. I got to get up at 7, man.
Oh, yeah, that just didn't even factor in back in those days. We went straight to work from the club.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
used to go
crazy.
club hopping with Gladys Pizarro. I'm pretty sure you know.
Oh, I know, Gladys.
And let me
yeah.
tell you, we would go
yeah.
see Louis after Louis. It's like a never a dull moment with her.
Yeah, you just kept going.
Yeah, you just
And,
get,
you know, it's just unbelievable, man.
Sleep. Who sleeps?
I want to
Yeah.
share the fact that, like, as you mentioned, right, you said, when you want something, go get it, you're hungry, right?
Right.
And you shared the story about the song you believed in, and you took it, you went to emergency, and, you said, like, I'm releasing this, and that's how you started,
Right.
Quark, right? And I want to say this, Quark Records, because I forgot that Blaze was
Yeah.
on Quark. When you looked at the label, and the point is that when you want something badly, what you'll do. The label was a simple label. The actual graphics of the label
Sure.
was an actual handwriting.
That's right. It's true.
Okay, it was actual hand.
Right,
It was
right.
actually handwritten.
It's amazing you remember that.
I do.
Yeah.
I do because
That's
that's
right.
that's what we do, right? We're historians in our own way, right?
Right.
We love our craft, and there's something that catches your eye or something about it, and it was like a simple. Ballpoint. I don't even think it was a ballpoint. It was
No,
just like
it's
that one.
it was a pen written out, right.
And it said Blaze, and it was everything. All the information.
Everything was written
All
out.
the information
That's
was
right.
written out.
Yeah.
And you guys, you made it. You turned it into a hard copy, and you turned it into a label, and
You
that
just
was
put it
your
out.
label.
That was it. It was
And
like
that
just
I want
like
to
that.
commend you on that, and
Thank
just
you.
to stress that point, the fact that, like, when you want something bad, what you'll do. Listen,
Get it done.
people think, oh, I need a budget, I need this, I need that, I need this. Listen, you'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that, and
Make
that's
it
the beauty of music is, I always felt a part of it was, it was a gift, and to be able to be part of the process where something funneled through you. So it's nice to be here as Emergency Records or Quark Records and stuff, but that's all other people's talents that are funneled through me, and that's I'm grateful to be a part of that process and a part of that history. But my responsibility was to allow that to funnel through me and get out into the marketplace so that DJs and listeners and people who are passionate about music and finding good music or finding something that touches them in a way can get, right? They have now have access to. And now with the internet and now with streaming and so forth, it's become so much easier to do. Though the reality of that is, I think the latest figure of Spotify is like every day there's like 60,000 new tracks uploaded up to Spotify.
Yeah.
I mean, it's become. I think it's harder now to find something good
is,
versus
yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
doing it
Right.
back in there, because we were really committed to every emergency release.
Right.
And that process, like you said, of finding a song, producing it, going into the studio, mastering it, pressing it up,
Right.
distribution. It was we were with that song a longer time
In the process.
So by the time we put it out, we were really vested in the song.
Right.
But more importantly, we loved it.
Yeah.
We knew we loved this record going out. And same thing, Jason. We knew, like, I listened to that stuff on the way here or driving back, or I'll throw a playlist on that I do and I'll go, oh man, I'm like driving on the sawmill late
yeah.
at night, and I'm like I'm back in a club
Yeah,
somewhere.
it feels good. You're cranking it up.
Right?
You're singing.
I'm just cranking this thing
yeah.
up, and I'm like, oh man, I'm doing 80. I shouldn't be doing this.
Listen, I pull up on a red light, right?
Right.
And I look to the side, and people looking at me because I'm like this.
You're
and I'm
just
singing,
jamming along,
jamming, I'm
yeah,
singing
right? It's
along,
the
yeah.
best.
And
It's
they're
the
looking at
best.
you, and I'm like, yeah, come on in, like
That's me.
join me, man.
That's me all the time.
And I wanted to touch on that. The fact that like today, so you still have Quark Records.
I still have Quark. Right?
And the fact that you talked about the internet and that it makes it easier, but it seems as though like I hand it to you because there's still a lot of elements involved, a lot of organization. I find it challenging because it's so much saturation, right? Things can fall through the cracks, and back then everything was the vinyl, right? Was a hard copy,
Right.
From the studio, the acetate,
Yeah.
walking in the street with
Oh,
the
yeah.
acetate or the 2-inch reels, and that was exciting. But now it's a digital signal that
Yeah.
you don't even see.
Yeah, and
You know?
I love what you just said because actually, absolutely love me. You know what it is? It's everything you just mentioned. You actually touched, right?
Yeah.
Think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. I
Like
tell
you
Jason all
touched
the
the
time.
vinyl, you touched the acetate.
Yeah.
So you had a feel for it.
You fell
know?
in love with it.
Yeah, and if you bought it, like if you vested like your $5 or $12 at the time, and you were vested too, so you would take it and go and play it. Today, because we uploaded, there's none of that. A lot of that's taken away. But the reality of that is, I know when I'm releasing something on Quark, like I'm still committed to it. Even though the process only takes literally 20 minutes from the time I get the WAV file and the JPEG art
Wow.
to the time I upload it to my distributor,
Put it together, right?
right? And by the time it's approved for it, and by the time it could show up on Spotify, but that's their process. But by the time it took me to upload it,
Right.
that's literally 20 minutes. And I could just keep moving.
Yeah.
quick.
Back then.
I could just
the
do
time
that
it
over a cup of coffee,
Right.
right?
took- Back then.
But
yeah,
the
it took-
feeling of every track that I've released now is the same as the history of the tracks that I've been involved in, and that is, I just now my commitment, I'm not one of those like music guys today that everything is about analytics and this
Oh, the
and
numbers.
that and the number.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, you know what? Whenever I'm doubting something, I literally just play the song again. And that brings me back to that moment where I go, oh, that's why I signed this. That's why. Now I heard it again.
That's
now let me
interesting.
get busy.
That's
like
good.
I don't get involved in the data stuff.
Right,
oh,
right, right.
I got, 20 streams here or 2,000 streams. I don't care about that. I'm like,
Right.
let me just listen. Oh, yeah, this is a good song.
Yeah, yeah.
This song makes me feel good. This song's making me smile.
Yeah.
I like it. Now, who can I get this out to today that I can share that feeling with?
There you go.
And I do a little bit of that every day
Wow.
for every track. And I don't just do it for our new tracks. I go back, and it's the reason my playlist exists. It's the reason, when I'm working with music supervisors who put music in films, I send them our older tracks, and I'll play tracks that I've released, Blaze, back in 1987, and I'll throw that on, and I'll say, oh, damn, this is really good.
Yeah.
This sounds good today. I should re-release this today, and people would think it's a new track because they don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right? People don't
It's a new
remember.
generation.
You know what? I got a million questions all at once going through my head with everything that he just said right there, right? So, as a label, what your metrics
Yep.
are, like what do you do? You still have to, to do all that. It's the old spaghetti, like just throw it to
throw
the
'em up,
wall and see what sticks,
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned film work, right? So
Right.
are these all these films getting produced, and another great platform and opportunity because music, having a catalog, having a library, music that can and especially some movies that are going back, or it's a timepiece movie,
Sure.
and they need
That's-
some great music.
That's the key.
Yeah,
That's the key. That's what you're always asking the music supervisor is when does this take place? Where does it take place? I have some music for that, or what are you looking for? And it's not just and it's not just and the reason I'm able to still continue talking with music supervisors because I'm not just talking about my tracks. I'm talking about, well, did you consider this track?
There you go.
Right? So I'll make suggestions. I may not have the exact song you're looking for, but here is something that's in that area that you can listen to. So they respect my opinion, and that's why playlists exist. So I can create these playlists and put them all in one place. Where I can go, hey, I have this playlist of the history of disco music from 1972 to 79.
I love those.
That song is here. Let me send this to you, and it sparks.
Let me tell you,
10 other songs.
If I played all your list, I'd never get out of the house. I would never get out of the house, man.
It's crazy.
It's just, but that's amazing. So you become like a consultant also as well, with
so and I'm always pitching, because I'm not only just a label guy, but I also own some of the publishing on some of this stuff. So I'm trying to create value for the copyrights that we own, but also trying to make a little money for our songwriters, people who are involved, for the producers and everything. So anything we get, it's split, but it's a fight. Everything's a fight. We're a small independent label. We're just trying. We're scraping by. It's a couple $100, here and there we get every once in a while.
But we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's not like nobody's getting rich off this thing right now.
Not anymore.
But then you have the other extreme where you have the bigger artists and the bigger labels, and they're making tremendous amounts of money, and but
goes to extremes,
Yeah, and so we're doing this for the love.
Yeah,
for the love and for the passion of it.
Jay, go to the Spotify list and play track 44.
Is this your Lady L?
No, oh, you know what? You got to tell us about that.
Yeah.
You got to tell us to play this first and then play Lady L. No, what's that? Track number 44.
No, 44.
44. That's not 44. What is it? There you go. Crank that baby.
Oh, cafe.
You were too young for this, Jen.
No, man, this is early disco. This is that high energy Euro, and it makes sense. Very, very Italian sound.
Very Italian,
very
right?
Italian.
This takes me back to the Inferno.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. All our listeners, you're listening to The Mix Lab. You got Jason Rios, your host. I'm Lefty Hernandez with our wonderful guest, Curtis Urbina, here telling us so much about so many great things like this. Cafe.
That's a good sound. It sounds good.
I was just gonna say, just playing that, man. I used to be in a band, right, Justin? You right? Being in a band,
I love it.
Just keeping up with that speed, that pitch. Boom, boom. Here we go.
It's up to you, she said to me. She knew I wanted to be free.
Amazing.
It was a rainy Sunday afternoon, and the cafe crowd was growing.
Amazing.
I want to hear your answer now. I want to talk, but I don't know how. And everybody there began to stare as the lady started crying.
Can't you just see the palm trees and like that Ipanema feel, right?
Yeah, this is all credited to Baby Records in Italy and Roy B, who really brought it to America and worked it. It's just a great Max Berlin, Billy Moore, all that stuff, early stuff gave us a heartbeat as emergency. But
You got to hand it to Roy B because he's still doing, he still goes out with Company B.
Mad respect for Roy B.
Yeah.
Mad respect.
You know what? All right, because
so
much you want to do.
So,
Look! He told me to hold on. He said, "Hold on." Yeah.
You gotta give it a second.
Absolutely. That's the hook.
Cafe. Great song. Still a great song, and that's the key. That it's still a great song.
The song, the production.
You're listening to WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
The horns. Flute. Oh my God.
Look at that.
Come on, man.
I'm telling you, what are we gonna do, Curtis? I call you, I bother you all the time. What are we doing about this? What are we gonna do? What do we do? You know, we talked about
So let's get right to the obvious. What people will remember us from, right? We got to play Let the Music Play.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you just got to get right to the opening track.
I was gonna tell you to go to tell us about the Ice Cream Dreams, which you'll tell us
We'll
too.
get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Look. He's even like, we'll get there.
Yeah, come on, man. Right from the intro, everybody will go like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me."
Jay, yeah.
How could you do that show and not play that song?
Yeah, right. Really, it's the truth. I know,
Right?
and I talk about it all the time. Every time I say Curtis
All of a
Urbina, I
sudden,
go,
you're going to turn around and say, "Hey, time's up," and people are going to go, "Yo,
what happened?
we
What
brought the
happened?"
guy in, and we didn't get the story of Let the Music Play."
I want to tell the people and also remind you. So, Curtis, we've been talking about, now that we've got a couple of our friends back together from the music industry, and we're talking about, setting up meetings and having some Zooms and talking and reinventing this business. And I think it's a really great idea because we have to, especially with all this great history that we're bringing to the table.
Without a doubt.
So, and Jason was there last week, when we were there at the Copa that, for Joey.
Yeah.
We had Joey Carvello, David German. Last week we had DC LaRue up here.
DC LaRue.
Yeah, discovering that he worked with Lou Christie. Who's got,
Lightning
amazing.
Strikes. Come on, man.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Come on.
I'm not going to sing that high pitch.
God, Lou Christie.
Yeah. All right. So bring us to where we are now. Tell us. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, there's the next level, right?
there it is,
There's
ladies
next
and gentlemen.
level. That's next level emergency right there.
This is Emergency Records. When I say emergency, I say Curtis Urbina. So I always say, right, the label and the music, you don't know who the man behind, Curtis Urbina, right here.
There you go.
This is the work of a lot of people, though. It's not
Love
just
it.
me. I have
remember her.
to be there.
Still jamming it.
Yeah, this is
Still playing across the country on top 40 stations.
Every day. Everybody knows it immediately once they hear that intro and that.
Yeah, that whip.
Whip comes in and there's always that hook.
There's a definite wedding a bash.
A track.
Yeah,
A track. You play this in any wedding. Forget.
Yeah.
They'll get remarried.
Yeah, right. No, and you got to come right in. It's an opener.
Yeah.
It's a floor opener.
Yeah, I remember, just working with this and putting this together. The guy who really, started this was Chris Barbosa, who recently
just lost.
just about maybe about a month ago just passed away.
So sad.
So young, and so my condolences to him. I talked to his wife and
another great person.
Yeah, just a great person. But Chris Barbosa, again, it's one of those moments where having a couple of records under our belt and then being accessible for people. That was always the premise of who I am as a person, just making myself accessible.
Right.
Chris Barbosa, strolls into our office as a DJ, looking to he's a bedroom DJ looking to pick up records.
Amazing.
And so I gave him a couple of records, and it wasn't because he was a bedroom DJ, because our philosophy always unless you're playing at a club, unless you have a letterhead, unless you have a seal on it, there was this process to being able to get promos. But Chris Barbosa came, and he was just a young kid.
He was hungry.
And he was hungry, but he also had that he was from the Bronx. I'm from the Bronx. He went to Sacred Heart School, elementary school. I went to Sacred Heart Elementary School.
He probably knew that.
He was in school with my younger brother, and so again, there's that channel of the heart just opens up and says, and it was just a couple of promos.
It was meant to be.
So I would give him promos, and this went on repeatedly. And then one day he came in and said, "I want to produce a record for you." And I was like, and again, because the channel was open and the heart was open, I said, "Great, when you do something, let me know."
Right.
Time goes by. Eventually, he brings me this little cassette, and on the cassette it says "Fire and Ice," and that was originally the first what we heard. And I listened to it, and I asked him if I could hold on to it, and then I went to Sergio, and I said, can you listen to this? Because I trusted Sergio's ear. Sergio had a very good ear. And a lot of the music that you hear that's released on Emergency is attributed to Sergio's ear as well. And so I trusted Sergio, and I said, "Can you just listen to this? There's a little hook in here that I keep hearing over and over." And Sergio listened to it, heard it, said the same thing. And through that, we have been working with another producer on a couple of projects, Mark Liggett.
Mark Liggett.
Right, Mark Liggett. So everybody, he's
Wow.
produced quite a few things. So we decided to put Mark Liggett and Chris Barbosa together.
Mm.
And then they went into the studio, and then they started creating that music, that beat to what you hear. It became Let the Music Play. And then we needed a song. So through other contacts, through Mark and people, we found two writers who wrote Let the Music Play. And so there was a group of people, the four of them are the element that created Let the Music Play. Mark and Chris Barbosa produced it, and then we needed a singer. We needed someone to sing the song.
Sure.
So we auditioned a bunch of singers, and we found this singer from Brooklyn, who was a bookkeeper, Brenda Shannon Green.
Is that funny?
And so we took I think we had her voice plus, if I recall, about 13 other demos. And as we listened to them over the weekend, over a lot of wine and a lot of pasta, we decided that we liked Brenda Shannon Green. So we went and we bought the record from her, and we paid her for doing her vocals and stuff like that. And that was the end. And we put the record out. And
it was an overnight hit.
And it just
was a smash.
exploded. It exploded.
Amazing. That is a great story. And again, timing is everything.
Yeah.
Your label, I always share my experience. Even though I was part of the when I first became part of the record pool, when I joined Eddie, he, I wanted to be a part so badly, again, knocking on the door, being a DJ. And he says, and I wanted to be in the record pool, but I didn't, like you say, the credentials, working in a club, the letterhead, the consistent, bookings. And he said, you know what, you could join my staff. And that was the KISS FM staff that we will go out. And when we started doing all those those shows, one of the first artists also, I remember Shannon, when she came for the very first time performing, she was scared and nervous. Today she cleans the floor. But the thing was that hanging out at the record pool one night, Eddie would sometimes let us hang out. There were a few of us, and he treated me. He said, go through the bins. He goes, I got these bins over here. Those are, like you would have X amount for the DJs, and those were the spares.
Right.
He said, go through the records and just put yourself a package together. And I was so excited, so I was pulling it. And out of all the records I pulled, I hit the ceiling. Like the highlight of that night was when I pulled out that blue and white stripe with the red letter, and it said, Let the Music Play, Shannon.
Yep.
And I asked him if he'd mind if I would take 2 copies. Because that was it. That was
crazy.
I took I took 2 boxes. If a box held 50 records, or 1550. If I took 100 records, I didn't care about the other 99. It was that record that made my night.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was a record to have. And I remember our phones blew up, and people just wanted more of it. Yeah. And we just kept going.
And you put out and with that song, a great album. That album is great. She's got a few tracks. It's Give Me Tonight.
Right. Give Me Tonight was one of my favorites.
Oh, what a great song.
I personally, I think it's better than Let the Music Play.
Well, afterwards.
But it was after, right? It was after,
you discovered that.
Stuff like that. And, one of the things that we're really proud of is, it could have just been another New York City club hit, and we were fortunate enough that we had some friends and stuff, but this record really started to get some legs of its own. Yeah. And there's a difference between having, a #1 club hit and having a top 10 pop hit. And it takes a lot of work to do that.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I don't think we had, at Emergency, the wherewithal to do that or the funds to do that, quite honestly. So
to market it
and promote it and get everything going to make it a top 10 hit. I mean, I believe Shannon Let the Music Play, if I'm correct, went to number 8 in the pop charts.
Wow. Right.
For
that is a
but we were
big
able
deal.
to accomplish that by the work of so many people. Person who we know, Joey Carvello, and a gentleman named Jerry Greenberg, who had Mirage Records, which was part of Atlantic.
Mirage.
So we were fortunate enough to structure one of the first unique deals where we were able to take the record to Atlantic Records through their Mirage imprint. And get that machine of Atlantic Records behind us.
Yeah.
To really hire all the promoters and make this thing happen.
Amazing.
But what was important, the deal was unique in itself. What was important enough because we had been in business for, don't forget, that would have been our 40th release. It was EMDS 6540. So it would have been our 40th release. And I have a network of distributors that still owed me money.
Right.
So a major part of the discussion before we gave the record to Atlantic to do what they did, and thank goodness, was I had to convince everybody that what we needed to keep was the 12-inch vinyl rights. The 12-inch vinyl rights had to remain with Emergency Records.
What a smart.
Because if I
move.
gave that record away to Atlantic as well, one, I would have never gotten paid by my distributors ever again, and two, they would have never trusted us with other releases on Emergency.
Right.
That we were able to deliver them a hit, because every time we were going to have a hit, we would give it to a bigger company.
Right, exactly. So
that would have been the image that we were presenting.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to find a way that every it could be a win-win scenario for everybody. So it became a very unique deal, so that Atlantic was able to do their thing. So they got the single, the 7-inch of
Mm-hmm.
Let the Music Play, and the album that was going to be delivered.
Right.
And we kept the 12 inches. So you'll see that Let the Music Play is still on Emergency as a 12-inch. Give Me Tonight is still on Emergency. Right. My Heart's Divided still on.
Another great song.
A bunch of stuff.
Heart's
we all worked. So we worked together and in unison. And that Let the Music Play in between. One of my favorite records, Emergency Records, is in between Let the Music Play and Give Me Tonight.
Say that again. So
one of my favorite Emergency records
Okay.
is sandwiched in between the release of Let the Music Play and Give Me Tonight.
Wait, I can
Any
only
idea what that is?
I can only think of one because it's a favorite of mine.
Zena?
I'm thinking. Yeah, he said Zena. I was
Zena on the upside.
On the upside.
Zena on the upside.
I love
is
that.
just
Amazing. That is
another
goosebump
incredible
records.
vocalist.
That's emotionally like one of those. There it is. Play
yeah.
it.
I had it queued.
Yeah, you had it
Look at
queued.
that.
You're a smart man. There you
So
go.
that was
Oh
this
my
song.
God. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we bring Curtis in. There's so much history. That story was amazing. So much, and what it takes. But play this jam. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Zena on the Upside. It's such a beautiful, melodic, romantic storytelling record. This is a great
story.
Oh my God, great story. Yep. Probably.
I'll give you another little piece of trivia on this song.
Yeah.
On this song.
All our listeners identify with this story somehow or another. Hold that thought.
Listen very carefully to the vocalist.
Raise that baby.
On the downside, love can be a voice on the phone, telling you the feeling's gone.
Somebody knows.
On the downside, but on the upside, love is happiness and tenderness. There's lots of hugging and kissing on the upside. Love is ecstasy, so handle me carefully and be sure to keep your loving on the upside.
Yeah, it takes you back, doesn't it?
This is. I love it.
Beautiful.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it.
Listen, for the DJ, after you spin it into the mix, you sit back and you listen. You close your eyes.
So the story on this one is, I told you we have released the record by Shannon, and Let the Music Play was exploding, and we had to sign Shannon, right? We had to sign Shannon, but we also were getting like tremendous calls from a friend of ours, an agency, Norby Walters.
Yes.
Right?
We
Big
talked
booking
about
agency, doing all the clubs and
That
stuff.
was the man.
And he's getting requests like crazy for Shannon to perform. But Shannon was very nervous.
That's right.
Remember, she was just like
this is a great story.
She panics.
This
right?
is a great story.
She's become quite the ambassador for Let the Music Play now, but early on, she was a bookkeeper and she was nervous and she didn't know what to do. I mean, this was a big industry and a big thing going on. So Sergio and I thinking about like, well, we better start. We got all this money that we could be making from the bookings and stuff like that, and promoting the record and stuff like that. But we got to find a singer. So we found the singer, and we thought, no, maybe we can get her to go out and be as Shannon and so forth. And so we were making preparations for that. Eventually, long story short, Shannon does sign, and then she becomes the best ambassador for the track, and it's basically she's owned the song now. She is Let the Music Play.
Right.
This singer, we appreciated her efforts and what she was willing to do for us. So we decided we wanted to do a song for her with her because we just loved who she was and stuff like that. And we did this song on the upside, and then we realized after being in discussions with her that we couldn't sign her, or we couldn't use her real name because she at that time was a background vocalist for Luther Vandross.
Luther Vandross.
So
is this amazing?
So she had this whole other
wonderful.
She had this whole other career going, and so we came up with the name Zena. But most people won't know. Some people will know that Zena went on to have success with Luther Vandross and then have a hit of her own down the road. As she's the artist that we now know as Lisa Fischer.
Yes.
And if you ever get a chance, Lisa Fischer is just a phenomenal talent. And there's a great documentary on cable if you ever get a chance to catch it called 20 Steps from Stardom. I believe it's about like background singers and stuff, and Lisa's featured in there.
Yeah.
Because Lisa I think Lisa not only did Luther, she's done background vocals for the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, she's an amazing,
she's an amazing vocalist. So,
that's
Zena.
Yeah, and that's it's a beautiful name too. We love the name Zena. And so while we're listening to the song, and I showed you, so on the chat, another amazing, great friend of mine, and I'm so blessed to have so many wonderful people in my life. He goes into the chat room and he said, actually he sent it to me, and he said, he goes, that's Lisa Fischer, right?
Yeah.
He goes, that's Lisa Fischer. So I want to say, yes, thank you, Wayne Mayo, another great person. We'll get him on. Wayne Mayo's also, he's still working at radio and some of the great radio stations. I think he's at the Block 94.7 FM
Wayne Mayo's good
right
guy.
now. And Wayne and I go back. We started promotions together at Hot 103.
Yeah, so Wayne would definitely know. Definitely know the
So,
story as well because he's in the back.
Yeah, and he's another great person. But he said that, and Lisa Fischer, and so Zena is an all-time favorite.
Yeah, it's a great track. But that sort of gives you an idea of the type of musicians and the type of vocalists and the type of talent that we were able to work with.
Yeah,
you
could hear her talent, and dude, you could hear the emotions.
Absolutely,
that's what makes the hit. It's part of the hit.
And that's why when you play some of these songs, we released these tracks back in 83, 84, 85, and you're playing them now to almost
45 years later.
Yeah, man, and listen to how they sound.
Yeah,
they just hold up test of time. So the catalog is beautiful. It's rich in history of that New York sound that we've all grown up with. That went around the world. I think one of the latest things I've seen is and a lot of these things don't get remixed, as you can tell. I know nothing on my Quark catalog gets remixed because I don't give permission for it. So you'll never see spin-offs of Blaze or spin-offs of stuff.
Right.
I think the latest thing that I've heard was, and it's a testament, is Purple Disco Machine did a remix of It's a War by Kano, but that's because he went back to the Italian company. And
right. And that's the name of the group, right?
Right.
The disco.
Purple Disco Machine has a show on Sirius Studio 54
Yeah.
channel and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Now you said you don't give it permission. You don't give permission. Is there a particular reason?
I just,
I'm curious. I think I know why.
You don't
I have
wanna
my.
ruin it.
That's my version.
Yeah, I just like.
My thing is that it'll be destroyed.
I don't. I don't know that, but I just.
If you got something good, why touch it?
Yeah, I just listen to it. Every time someone asks me to do a remix of a track, first and foremost, I would never approve it without going back to the original artists themselves. So, like, if someone came to me and asked me for Blaze, what you're going to do, I would probably call up Kevin Hedge first and say, hey, here's what's happening. Would you like to do this? More than likely, the answer might be the same, or more than likely, if anyone's going to remix what you're going to do, or if You Should Need a Friend, or Can't Win for Losing on the Quark label that are all Blaze tracks, it should be Kevin Hedge himself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would give him the first right to do it. So I think people once that word gets out, people, I think the buzz is like, hey, don't call Quark.
I know.
You're not going to get it.
I want to cry.
I know you guys are you're short on time.
I'm looking at it like I knew this was going to happen. You know?
We knew it'd be 20 songs and you're done.
Quickly, did you go? So Kevin Hedge, for those that know or don't know, his days at Cielo with Louis Vega,
Body and Soul, right? He's
Wednesday
got Body and
nights,
Soul.
and DJing, and he's also still remain on BLS,
Right.
Getting to do some mixes there, as well. Wonderful. Again, you coming here and all the people and the network of people and the history, Kevin Hedge, Lisa Fisher, just all these amazing, Roger S, just
Roger S. Still, I
guys
love that guy.
Still banging it out, yeah.
Still banging it out.
So I want to say that because of the fact that we are at that point. So what do we got? We've got 10 minutes, 9 minutes.
Yeah, I also want to encourage anyone that wants to call in.
Yeah, we
Please,
still want to
feel
call
free.
in.
You
Get a
got
couple. And also, while we're waiting for some call at 212-650-6903. We should know this number by heart. I should know, close my eyes.
Rhythm, if you could put it up.
Again, call us at 212-650-6903. Any questions or comments for Curtis? And for Curtis, anything that you want to leave us with? Any ideas, recommendations, or what's the next step, or what should we be looking out for? What's your next move?
For me personally, it's just I'm just going to keep doing these playlists. I'm going to keep on. If you follow Mixcloud, follow us
There it is.
on Radio Quark, and you'll get DJs mixes. I'm after Lem,
Yeah, he does. He asked
I'm
me
always
for
busting on Lem, saying, "Hey, you got to give me a mix show so I can get it out
next week."
Yeah, there's a mix lab. Who's speaking?
Hey, DJ Rick the Mexican. They're listening to you.
Hey, what's
guys.
up, Rick?
What's
You're
happening,
taking me
Rick?
Way back.
Say hi to Curtis.
What's up, Rick?
Curtis, I've never had the honor of pleasure meeting you, but I always supported your label.
Oh, thank you, man.
I started off as a street DJ doing the bootleg mixtape, cassette tape.
He actually said bootleg.
Bootleg, yeah.
All right, so it's time to pay up, Rick.
Right.
That's a different subject.
Listen,
right?
you guys live in each
I
other's
consider
backyard.
Consider that payment for promotion. 'Cause
There
we
you
were
go.
DJs, we were promoters, and we never got paid for it. But that's another story. But I love your label. I always played your records to this day. Emergencies at the top of my playlist.
Oh,
When
that's
I play
awesome.
Shannon and Xenon, I love when you play that track.
As a matter of fact,
So-
Rick, we played recently at the Funhouse reunion, and you were rocking
That's
a lot
right.
of his tracks, right?
That's right. You hear them at the top of my
Yep.
playlist.
Excellent.
There you
To this
go.
day.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. Appreciate the support and the love. And
We got another call. That's
Wow.
amazing.
Thank
Rick,
you for
thank you. I
calling,
want
Rick.
you to know. So, Curtis, Rick, you and Rick share each other's backyard. You guys are neighbors.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Connecticut.
Connecticut, huh?
All right, next
Wow.
caller. Thank you for calling, Rick.
You got to go up to his
Thanks,
club.
guys.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you, Rick. He's got a club up there.
Thank you for calling the Mix Lab. Who's speaking?
This is Freedom, Papa, all the way from Texas.
Nice.
Hey, what's up,
There you-
Freedom?
now we talking. There you go. Welcome.
Oh, my goodness. So he's bringing me a lot of memories.
Does he have you crying
Good.
Oh, my God. But, back in them days, I used to drink a lot of the punches.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear me mention the punch before? I did. I remember the punch.
That was a specialty at the garage.
Yeah, it was a specialty.
Oh, my goodness, yes. I'm a stuff saves the day in a garage.
There
Those
you
were
go.
My days, too. But, oh, my goodness. The songs that you guys are playing, I'm a vinyl junkie. I'm still trying to get used to the music that they play now. But there's nothing like the music from back in the days. So that's a true
Absolutely.
story. Thank you so much, Mr. Curtis.
Oh, thank you
Let's
so
hear
much.
one.
And Rita, I will tell you that, if you remember the book Love Saves the Day, we're both, we love that book, and that's by Mel Sharon. I did put on one of my Spotify playlists is in the back of that book, Love Saves the Day, which is the story of Mel Sharon and how he became the partner of Paradise Garage. There is a
West End
list of like his top, or a list of 500 tracks that were played. I started to compile. I think I'm up to like 275 tracks on one playlist, and the name of the playlist is, you know, Love Saves the Day. It's a tribute. It's a tribute to Mel Sharon. So you'll find that on my Spotify.
Wow.
You'll find that on my.
I was listening to my twin, which is Rosie Rhythm, your host. And I just, when I heard that, you know, they shared with her some music, I text her and said, you got to share it with me. I need to listen to this stuff, okay? Send it to me, because, you know, I'm a vinyl junkie.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yes.
Put a vinyl on for me. I would prefer that than to listen to the stuff that they have now, which is all electronic stuff.
Can I get that on the?
You know, but yeah, thank you so much, because you did bring a lot of memories. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know none of that stuff. I was too busy drinking the punch.
Oh man, I know. So a lot of these songs,
you know,
this one,
just free my soul, you know. And but thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank
you
you
for calling,
believing.
Freedom.
It's gonna make me want to do. I'm a research person, so now I'm gonna do all the research.
Oh, just go to my Spotify page and go to the playlist called Keep on Dancing. It's a tribute to Mel Sharon and West End Records.
Okay.
I mean, from right from the get go,
We're all going home doing this.
The first track is "I'm on Fire" by 5,000 Volts. You just know you're ready to go.
Yeah, one of Nancy's favorites.
Yeah.
5,000
Yeah,
volts.
5,000 Volts. You'll just go nuts, and there'll be some hard to find stuff there.
Freedom. So just
Write all this down for me, Jason. Jason, write all this down for me.
No, wait, listen, I got a copy of the recordings.
You know what, Freedom? I also just put it on the chat room. I hope I did. Did it come out? What happened? Where'd it go? I could have sworn I just clicked it in. I'll do it again. But anyway, so you could get to see it. I know I sent it to Rhythm, so definitely.
Rhythm got it. You know I got it.
And by the way, Lefty, Freedom, I'm just going to give Lefty a heads up. Lefty, Freedom is the one that's going to create our T-shirts. For the
There you
Mix
go.
All right.
Love it. All right.
Nice.
I can't wait. Where are you in Texas? Where are you in Texas?
I'm in Killeen. I work for the Fort Cabasso base. I've been here for 24 years now.
Cool.
But I go home every year. I go back home, celebrate my birthday and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been here.
Awesome.
I work for the Army base.
Listen, all I know is I got a cousin in Houston.
Houston?
Yeah, remember, so in Texas it's Houston. You know, you're a New Yorker, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you tell him you tell him you come? Do you tell him you come from Houston Street?
Oh my goodness.
That's dangerous, right, in Texas? Yeah.
Make me go. You know, I remember my huevo pants.
Oh, so
Make me go back then, okay?
There you go.
Houston and Mercer.
Houston and Mercer.
We got another call. We still got time. Thank you so much, Freedom. Thank you.
Love you guys. Sending you
Okay,
love
Freedom.
from
Awesome.
Texas.
Thanks for keep tuning in.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Awesome. Tell your friends.
Thank you. Thank you for calling the Mix Live. Who's speaking?
Hi, guys. It's Nancy.
Nancy. I was waiting.
I was wondering where Nancy was.
Yeah, really quickly because I know the show's almost over. But it sounds to me like Curtis, you had like the most magical life. You know, it just seemed like a blessing. Your whole life. It just seems like the way you express yourself and how inspiring you sound. Being a professor, doing so much with the music, and it just seems like everything landed for you in life. And it sounds like you're continuing that same path.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that.
You've been blessed.
I am blessed. And, you know, part of it is, you know, like I've seen you, and I've seen your magic on the dance floor, you know, so that just confirms it, you know, and those are the type of things when I see that, as I mentioned to Lem a few moments ago, with the hustle and watching, you know, your appreciation, your love of what you do. That's what makes my heart smile, and that's it for me. So, and then being here with both these guys, right? We're just three guys sitting around here, and you know,
three amigos.
Yeah, we're the three amigos sitting on WHCR and the Voice of Harlem, right here in the city, man. This is our home.
And
So
you're such a New Yorker. You're a New Yorker.
That's
from the Bronx.
I'm from the Bronx, man.
The Bronx.
The Bronx.
The Bronx.
Yeah.
And you're and it could have been anyone, but it happened to you. And
You know, it's you know, it's
And-
how the universe works, right? You know, I learned at a certain point, and thank God that I learned to stop fighting, get out of the way, and allow it to just happen, and trust the process. And I've been, as you said, it's been a gift, no doubt.
Man,
guys, I hate to cut it, but it's that time.
And it couldn't happen to a better person.
Thank you so much. Big kiss to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my love. Honey, you brought us into the 8 o'clock hour.
Thank you so much for calling.
All right.
I love you, honey.
Goodbye. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Nancy. I love you, Nancy. And that's it, everyone. Oh, my goodness. People, ladies and gents, Curtis, we can't thank you enough. You got to come back.
Lem. Thank you.
You got to come back, man. You got to come back,
bro.
man.
Awesome.
You are the best. Thank you.
I really enjoyed myself.
Once again, guys, you're tuned into the Mix Lab, WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. I'm Jason Rios.
I'm Lefty Hernandez.
And I'm Curtis. See you soon.
Great.
And we really want to thank you, and, thank you for the love and support.
Yeah, thank you. Did you notice Curtis calls me Lem?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that some other day. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
That's funny.
Welcome to the Mix Lab with your hosts, Jason Rios and Lefty Hernandez.